Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Prisma Arena, the animated series played using Untold Adventures Await. We're on day 20 of NaNoWriMo, and that means it's episode 20. So I'm going to bring up our little banner just for when people are scanning through. So we're actually on season 3 of this series, because each one is 7 episodes long, kind of a week. And this is like the penultimate episode of this series. So the way we left the last episode, it's going to take a moment to do like a little bit of a recap on things. So the last episode ended with both the Bazee and the Merchants Guild kind of launching an attack on Hendon Forest, the Bazee, in an effort to reclaim it. They were using technology and ships provided by the Merchants Guild, and the Merchants Guild were using this as cover to try and gain control of the Silent Tree, which apparently the wood is a kind of a very rich and rare resource that they wanted to get their hands on. In doing so, our heroes were able to capture the leader of the Merchants Guild, Conran, and he is now, so that kind of happened at the end of the episode. At the same time, Jasan, one of our heroes, let me switch to my this one here. So this is Demona. They tried to contact their parents and were unable to. Well, they contacted them and said, "I love you," and then the line went dead. So she's really worried about them. And that night she was visited by, I didn't really have a name for them yesterday, but I think I'm going to call them an Inspirer of Wonder. So these are the equivalent of the Guardians or the Bringers. So they're the people who are kind of key to supporting and nurturing the time of wonder, which hopefully will come after the time of hope, which we're trying to instigate and move on from the time of despair, which we're currently in. So as a kind of a recap, just to run through a couple of things, because we kind of have a blank slate potentially for how we go into this next episode. So the way we have it is our 4 heroes are training in the Prisma Academy to become Guardians of Hope. They have they've been warned a number of times by the principal, because they've kind of gone to the principal with issues and problems they're noticing, and they're not being kind of picked up on. They have made enemies of the Bobo, who are kind of an amphibious race who have students in the school, and they were cheating in their planning to cheat in their exams. And yeah, the students got this. Important thing is they've kind of they're threatening revenge on them. They have also, in the kind of wider world, there's been this ongoing fight between the Bazee and the Rangers of Hendon Forest, where they're trying to reclaim, the Bazee are trying to reclaim Hendon Forest. The Bazee also have no love for the people of Beacon, because they supported the Bobo in a conflict between the Bazee and the Bobo, and in this time of despair, Beacon isn't really sharing its technology with the Bazee to help them kind of fend off despair. So in the end, they started working with the Merchants. The Merchants Guild took advantage of this because they are scheming to try and profit from this time of despair by kind of sowing the seeds of chaos a little bit. Also, the Bazee, I think the Bazee have a really tough time. They have been active in holding back the Dryans, who are a tribe high in the Molessa Mountains, who are kind of intent on returning to an age of apathy, excuse me, which came from the time before despair. So that's their kind of, they essentially kind of worship the Great Mokan apathy and want to return to that era. That's one of the things that our heroes tried to warn the council about, actually, and they didn't really kind of heed them. They do have an enemy then in the streamers who kind of monitor the flow and the changing currents of time and the mood of the time. And one in particular, sorry, I've got to hear my myth. One of them in particular does not like them. And that is, and we don't really know what happened to them. And that's Karnu. So they kind of disappeared during the raid in one of the previous episodes. So I think that's right. The council returns. The bringers are still active. The bringers of despair. They are the ones trying to. I'm just going to switch this off. Kind of reinforce and maintain this time of the despair. So they're quite active, and there's been a number of skirmishes and kind of like uprisings that have been provoked by them back through previous episodes. So I think that's kind of enough to kind of cover. I don't think there's anything major. Well, there's also so there's kind of two other groups. There's the Water Boys, who are this kind of group of urchins in the port city of Glorthan, who just Desan, I think, met. There's also the Terrapins, which are the kind of Terrapin type race, who both Jasan and Eleanor have befriended as well. And they're essentially refugees from another part of Sullus that was taken over by despair, and they're trying to settle into this part of the world. And that was being hampered by the merchants. We also have the, I want to call them the kind of Raven Ninjas, the Ravona, who I think work kind of for the highest bidder, but they have currently been working with despair, and they've actually been, apparently they have been taking children for despair. There's also the Infinity Coalition, I think this is the last group, the Infinity Coalition, who have been developing kind of like technology, which is being these different kind of creatures. Supposedly, I think they're selling to the highest bidder to aid them in their kind of conflict. And I think, they see themselves as not aligning with despair or hope, that they're kind of beyond this, but they're definitely not helping. And they're kind of, I think, serving their own interests. And the other group we met, I think, are the monks and the guards at the Temple of Tanal, which is a kind of moon shrine, which provides a kind of the monthly ceremony provides a kind of a point of restoration for people who have been touched by despair as well. Wow, yeah, there's been a lot going on actually over the last few episodes. So I'm kind of saying that to kind of prime up my brain for when I roll this next set of story cubes to see what it is going to bring me. Okay, so I think we're going to switch the camera and we'll jump in. So welcome to everyone who has joined us. If you want to say a quick hello, it would be great to know that you're here. So I'm just going to move some of the stuff out of the way. Stick my heroes back in here so we can see them. Yeah, so just as a reminder of the names, this is Jasan, this is Eleanor, this is Damona, and this is Vika. Okay. And that is my coffee all gone. Right, so we're going to jump in, reveal the first tile. And it's funny, I was thinking today, there's different ways that you can kind of interpret the openings. And I'd like to try a different approach today just to show how it can happen. Because I'm kind of trying to learn and stretch myself as well. So I'm going to reveal this tile. Oh, I was actually, sorry, I was going to change out some of the story cubes just for a bit of variety. So I'm going to take that one. Oh, they're about 40. I don't want to take those out. Yeah, I'm gonna take that one, and I think the mask one, and I'm going to put in. I kind of want the Terrapan to come back into the story in some way, and I'll leave that one in. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I'm going to take that one out and check that in. Okay, so I've got 9 here. So I'm going to flip over the tile. So at some location, a threat, there's a fight actually. So there's a kind of conflict between 2 groups or 2 individuals. Okay, so I think I'm kind of. So things parents are missing, but I think we are back in school. I kind of feel like we should be back in the academy at this point. I'm just going to go close on the dice here so you can see them. So we're back in the academy. And so that's where we are anyway. But what do we hear about? I think we hear word comes from. So I'm just looking at my list of locations here. If there's anything that already exists that I can use. So we've got Glorthan, Majesta, which is the land of Terrapan, Greenlight River, Weeping Hollow. So I think maybe tie some things together. I think we hear back in. I'm going to use this to denote Glorthan, which is that kind of seaport where. Oh, hang on a second, actually. I could do something interesting, I think, if I bring in the name of the place. I think it's Articria, which is where the Laboratory of Infinity were doing the work. Sorry, just checking my threads. So I'm going to say, I think it's there. So I think in the town of Articria, there is a fight with the. A fight has broken out between the. The kind of faction of the Merchants Guild. So the Merchants Guild is kind of falling apart since the capture of Conran, because I don't think everyone kind of followed what he was doing, because Damona's parents were an example. They were members of the guild, they were traders, but they didn't agree with their approach, which was to kind of profit from this time of despair. They saw trading should kind of bring hope and joy to people. That's why they sent Damona to the academy to train. So word comes that a fight has broken out between the Merchants Guild and So kind of rogue elements of the merchant guild, or the now fractured merchant guild, let's say that. And so I kind of really want to bring this back in, so I might be forcing a little bit. I don't think so. I'm going to use the apple as like kind of knowledge. What am I looking at? Sorry, I got to switch my camera. So kind of knowledge. So I'm going to say on this as well. So actually, there's a fight has broken out between the rogue elements of the Merchants Guild and the Infinity Coalition. And I think there is kind of chaos on the streets. So they're so they're fighting, which means they both have access to weapons. So they're using kind of like, Prisma kind of blasters. I think the Infinity Coalition have this kind of weird equipment and these creatures as well that are being unleashed. We've called them the Infinity Spawn. Got to come up with a better name than that. But so there's creatures and there's like panic in the streets as this has kind of like spilled out into kind of clashes on the streets. And I want to figure out, like, well, how do we hear about this? I have some ideas. So I think so how did it break out? I think it started by the guild. So this is the one that kind of grabs my attention. And they essentially attacked with one of those ships that we saw in the last episode that has the capacity to kind of drop essentially kind of fire bombs. And I think they firebombed the town. So I think these are kind of like the hardcore elements of the Merchants Guild who are intent and kind of sowing, I think, chaos. And they went a bit too far. They basically armed themselves and attacked the Infinity Coalition's kind of headquarters in Articria. And I think they were spotted as they were approaching. So a lot of the Infinity Coalition kind of launched a counterattack against them. And so, okay, so how do we hear about this? Well, how do we get involved? I have an idea. So I think, because I want to involve, I think, Damona's parents in some way. I think that they get I think they see. I kind of feel like they maybe see them in the background, So there's kind of footage of this being broadcast. They're in school and they're watching the news broadcast, and they see in the background, Demona looks and goes like, she kind of runs up to the screen and she says, "That's them, that's my parents." And they are, I think, passing. Yeah, I think they're acting kind of furtively and kind of running for cover whilst this kind of fighting is going on around them. So they're not engaged in the fighting, but she kind of spots them kind of on screen. So she says, "We have to go after them." So I think they go and they try to convince so I think they're going to convince Omax to take them. So the Guardians are heading, and they're going to convince Omax, and Demona summons her kind of Ocon of trust, and approaches Omax to get persuade him to take our heroes with them. Okay, so he's not as bad as we think. He agrees. I think he says, "Yeah, you've proven you can kind of handle yourselves," but he just says, "Be careful." So they make their way to Articria, and they head to the. So this, I think, when they land, there's like fighting on the streets, and I think they are. I think that initially they're going to focus on trying to find a clue to their parents, and we need to stop this. So let's try and start out first, and then we'll kind of look for clues. So when they arrive there, I think they go with Nadalia because she knows the Infinity Coalition as a researcher. They go to the headquarters of the Infinity Coalition to talk to them and see if they can kind of broker, get them to agree to kind of a ceasefire, so they can kind of talk this through. So with the help of Nadalia, okay, so they do manage to persuade them, but they, on the condition, because they see Vika, and they say there's not, as they're kind of negotiating, who did we have? We're going to meet someone else. So we had met previously, the character who was called, we had met a character who was a member of, where is that? Falloon. So Falloon was a scientist, but we're going to meet someone who is higher up. And I think they are Mdiki. I think leader of the Infinity Coalition. And I think it's Dr. Mdiki. Okay, so we're talking to Dr. Mdiki. And as we're talking, we're trying to persuade him to agree to broker peace or to a ceasefire, and he agrees, but he says on the condition that I get to examine Vika, because they are a strange specimen. So actually, on the condition that you return Vika, because Vika was originally, from an earlier episode, was in the possession of the Infinity Coalition. So this is, as soon as you return our property to us, and oh my god, okay, so I think kind of a mini riot breaks out. Jasan, Eleanor, and Demona are like, Vic isn't your property. Vic is like a person, an individual. And I think the Dr. Ndiki says, yes, it may appear so, but it is essentially an automaton that has developed consciousness. And I think Vika is going to say, it's okay. I will stay if it will help to bring, an end to this fighting. So, I didn't expect that one. I think they say, we promise we'll come back and get you. So I think, going to turn them sideways. Vika is out of the action for now. Okay, so with a heavy heart, they return. I'm going to move a little bit. And I think they, in turn, are going to go to find so they've taken that action. Just trying to keep count of all these. So the Infinity Coalition agreed to a ceasefire on the condition that Vika stays for research. They've got that. So they need to basically try and contain the kind of the more zealous aspect of the Merchants Guild. And I'm going to ask this a little bit differently. I'm going to see if Omax and the Guardians have been effective in doing that. I know I'm kind of breaking the normal thing of our heroes doing it, but it seems to make sense that they would be doing it. No, so they haven't succeeded, and I think it's getting worse. I think the fighting with the Merchants Guild are kind of pressing the advantage against the Infinity Coalition, who have kind of eased off. So I think then what would I think we're going to call on the help of because we're back in Glorthan, our friends, the Terrapans, and ask for their aid in suppressing this, because at this point they've vastly outnumbered, I think, the members of the guild that are active in this. So I think we're going to contact them and ask them for their aid. Okay, so they succeed, but I think they take some heavy. I think their quarters are heavily damaged as a result of it, and I think a lot of Terrapan are hurt, but they've been essentially oppressed by the Merchants Guild for quite a while and pushed into the corner. So they use this as an opportunity to kind of exact that revenge. So maybe that's it, actually. So they kind of go a bit wild in taking down the Merchants Guild. And I think the Terrapan, so send an idea token. I think the Terrapan are, I'd say they largely look like a kind of, a slow lumbering kind of race. But if you think about it, they're carrying armor on their back all of the time. They're incredibly strong. And I think when mobilized, they become quite ferocious. They've just played that down the whole time that they've been in Glorthan or in Sullus. But back home, many of these people might have been kind of warriors and fighters, and they were trying to create new lives for themselves here. So I think all of the pressure cooker that's been building up with them kind of comes loose, and they let rip on the merchants guild. Kind of weapons get pulled out from underneath kind of beds in hiding places around their kind of quarters, and I think they kind of shock everybody actually with their ferociousness. So I think the guild are brought to heel with the help of the Terrapan, and I think so they're brought to heel, and I think Demona uses this kind of moment of peace to go and like search for clues for her parents. So she goes to that location where she last saw them, and asks around, see what people know about her parents, and okay. I think this is a weird one, but it goes way, way back to an earlier episode. So we had some creatures that were called shroomas that live in Greenlight Forest. And I think they had been okay, so I think it's a word. I think the shroomas. So I think the parents had been trading with the shroomas. This is so bizarre. So they had been trading with them, but the shroomas had kind of racked up. What they learned is that the shroomas had kind of run up a lot of debt. So I'm going to go gambling debt. And they essentially, the parents were trying to call it in. And the shroomas, well, let's say just shortly afterwards, I think I'd say the shroomas actually captured their parents, because they're not the most, I'm not going to say they're the most kind of intelligent creatures. So I think the parents were calling it back in, and their way of dealing with it was to, I think, capture the parents. There's something else going on here. So I think no. I think they had been dealing with the Shruma, and I think whilst trading with them, they revealed something. So the lighthouse, and it caught the attention of the wrong people. So the parents had been trading with the Shruma, and no one else was really doing it. So I'd go differently. They gained the trust of the Shruma. Apparently, they had revealed something to the parents, and shortly afterwards, they disappeared. They haven't been seen since. I think the assumption was that they were taken by the Shruma. So I think the assumption is they've been taken by the Shruma, but we don't really know for certain. Okay, so I think that is definitely a thread. One of his parents in danger. They discovered something from the Shruma. Then disappeared. Okay. So I just realized I could have taken that in a totally different direction. Oh well. So, kind of reeling from that news, we discover that this kind of faction of the Merchants Guild have a terrible secret. They have a terrible secret. I think they have. So hang on. So I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit. So our heroes have learned that did we learn that the Infinity Collection work with children? I think they were creating the creatures. I'm trying to remember if they were actually. When Ramona was taking children, which is on the loose, just sounds at risk. So Merchants Guild plan to relocate to. They're trying to relocate them. The Infinity are experimenting on children with Prisma in Keyport. Oh, that's where I was meant to go. Keyport. But we're in. Yeah, I think we're in Keyport. Let's stick with that. So I think their terrible secret is that the Merchants Guild had been I don't know if I want to do that one. So it's something about this. So I think they had been kind of looking at these three things. They had been trading information to despair to the bringers. And their terrible secret is that they think they don't want anyone to know. I think they have. I think they gave some information. They gave some information and despair. So the great Mokon despair is now making its way towards our location, which is Riverport. And I think they've messed up because this is a secret they don't want anyone to know. That they kind of regret it because they realized they've kind of brought disaster on themselves. So they had made a pact with them. So I think we say the usual, but why? And I think, well, how do we discover this, first of all? It's as they're investigating. So I actually think it's revealed because the I think a message is sent. So I want to think. I had used this to represent, I think, the Rangers. I think a message comes in from the Rangers. So Omax, I think, is pinged, and Desan's father is kind of, his kind of hollow form appears. Yeah, just taking the names again. So his dad, which is Laurel. So I think Laurel appears, and Desan is like, "Oh, hey, Dad," and Laurel says, "No time, son. Despair is on the move. Our Rangers have sighted them, and it is heading for green light." And I think the guild, the members of the guild who are present, are they laugh, and they turn to them and say, "You know, what have you done?" So the Rangers report that the Despair has been sighted and is moving. And I think they become static for long periods of time, like these creatures. The Mokon, they just they become static, but when they start to move and become active, that's when trouble follows. So Omax turns to the guild and says, "What have you done?" And they say, yeah. I think they say it's just business, that we have been promised control of all the trading. If we kind of help Despair, and they, I think they kind of are just acting like pirates. They're saying, we don't care who's in power. And I think, the Bringers offered us something that we couldn't ignore, and kind of made us a deal that we couldn't ignore. And so their terrible secret is that they have, I think, I don't know if I'm bending things a little bit here. I think the Infinity Coalition actually had, so I'm going to add an idea here. I think the Infinity Coalition had essentially, like, they'd developed a transmitter that could be used to draw Despair. Now, the idea was that it would draw Despair away from the kind of cities and, into other areas. But in order to test it, the guild actually turned it on. And maybe that's what the fight was actually over as well. But I don't think the Infinity Coalition kind of planned to. Yeah, I don't know if they're the best either, because they didn't actively turn it off. So maybe that's it. We'll ask. So they turned on this signal that acts as a draw, like a lure for. So it is a kind of technology, I think. I think they're going to call it the flame of despair, which is, we'll call it a lure. So their terrible secret is they made a deal. Gonna backtrack. No, they didn't make a deal. I think they just turned this on. They learned about this kind of lure. They came to turn on because, again, they just want to create. I think the Merchants Guild want to disrupt, and through that disruption, profit. That's their motto: profit through disruption. So they've turned on the signal. So I want to know. We turn to the Infinity Coalition and to the leader, who is Dr. Mziki, and say, what the hell? Why didn't you try to stop them? Well, I think, again, they argue that we saw this as a good opportunity to test our technology, and if it works, we will have the means to control despair. So what if a few people die? It's a small price to pay. Okay, so despair is on the move. It's heading towards Greenlight. We've discovered that Thing's parents, Damona's parents, have learned something from the Shruma, and as a result have disappeared as well. And Vika is currently in possession of the Infinity Coalition. Okay, so I think I know what we're going to do. So I think in order to stop this, we can't go back there. And this great idea of that we had run back to the Infinity Coalition. So I think we. I think we race to. So when we hear about this, okay, I'm gonna say maybe because we haven't had kind of kings and rulers and stuff in this, and I don't know if Keyport would have that, so the equivalent. So I'm gonna go more to their. I think we run to alert the Marshal of Greenlight of Keyport to prepare the defenses that because despair is coming. So I think Omak says, quick, go tell them I'm going to contact Beacon. So we run to the Marshal. So I'm just going to say, I'll put them down as a group and organization, so the Marshals of Greenlight. of keyport. And on our way there, we are so on our way there, we are chased or kind of intercepted by, I think we're intercepted by, I'm going to say it's, I think we are intercepted by Vika. So I'm going to use this to represent the Infinity Coalition. And I was thinking, who would the Infinity Coalition send? And I think they have sent Vika, but it's not Vika. They're acting really strange. So I think we see kind of Vika moving through the crowds, kind of pushing people out of the way. Their voice is kind of strange, and they're like saying, halt, stop. And we, I think we got to help them. So I think we try to see how Vika is being controlled. So I'm going to say it's a what is it? So I think we look around and we see there's actually somebody else controlling them. So almost like a controlling Vika remotely. So I think we got to try and take them out. So I think we turn our attention to that person. And I think Demona is going to use her acrobatics to kind of dodge past Vika to try and kind of is it debilitate? I kind of like knock out or knock over this person who appears to have like a device that they're using to control Vika. Okay, so they managed to do it. So Demona kind of like runs towards Vika and does a flip and like sails up over him, lands and then kind of like slides down on the ground between people, and with a kind of like, I'm going to say a prismatic uppercut, like punches the person who kind of suddenly realizes Demona's in front and sends them flying. So I'm going to see what impact does that have on Vika. Okay, so I think I'm going to say Vika kind of collapses to the ground, lifeless. Oh, okay. So I think Demona says, I'll stay here with Vika. You go and warn the marshals. So we run on to the marshals kind of headquarters in Keyport. Keep saying these things to remind myself. To kind of warn them that the despair is on its way, and they need to kind of put up the shields. Okay. So we get there, we warn them, but I think they're acting slowly. They're kind of dubious because we're just kind of students. So I think we tried to get Omax on our kind of. So I'm tapping my hand here, my comms, to basically confirm what we're saying, and get them to like hurry up and activate the shields. Okay, so they listen, thankfully, and I think we've bought ourselves some time. So yeah, I think well, I think I'm kind of curious. I'm gonna say this is something about the personality of just give them the name, the Marshal. So I think their name is their name is Fasan. So kind of Marshal of Riverport, Keyport. Yeah, I think he's quite jovial, which is kind of strange given the times that we're in. So I'm actually going to mark that kind of Demona is out of the picture. So I think we're going to call so one last action. I think we need to get Vika to safety. So I think we're going to, while they're doing that, we're going to run back to Demona and we're going to call Nadalia, who's here, and say, we need your help. We need to get Vika to safety. You know, so we're running back, but we'll see whether Nadalia can help, maybe to get them back to Beacon. I don't think there's a whole lot we can do here. I need your. Yeah, I think we contacted Nadalia. I don't think we're able to reach Nadalia. She's tied up. I think she just says, you're going to have to look after Vika for now. I have too much on my plate. So they're out. And we discover so Vika has a dark agenda. Oh. I think so. I think we're kneeling over Vika, and they are. I mean, they're kind of a bit too heavy for us to lift, but we're kind of gathered around, going, you know, what are we going to do? When suddenly, I think Vika's eyes open, and they are clearly not themselves, and they lift themselves up, and they kind of like push past us, and we're like, Vika, where are you going? What are you doing? And I think they are heading to the marshal's headquarters, and they, as we watch them, they enter the headquarters, and we kind of like get people to kind of push back and say they're not themselves. Like we need to figure out what's going on, and they turn and start to go down. No, where did they go? No, I'm going to say they start heading to the center of the city. And as we follow them, they kind of go through the streets. And we're like, Vika, what is it? Where are you going? What are you doing? And then an area kind of clears, and we see essentially a kind of monument in the center of the town, and there's a large kind of Prisma shard mounted in it, and it is the source of the kind of power source for the shield that protects Riverport. And I must actually, and I keep forgetting, these places are in the sky because we did go into defensive mode earlier. So the city is actually kind of in the air as a city ship. But it's so normal to the people, they don't kind of really think about it. So this is the kind of the power source for the shield. And I think Vika starts to attack it. So we see them channeling up the Prisma, and they start like firing at that. Oh my god! So Vika's being controlled. So I'm gonna go. What can we do to stop them? I think it was. I keep looking at this. It's kind of like we need to access their memories. I do have an idea. So I think we need to kind of somehow access their memories. So this could be. So I think they need. So how are we going to stop them? I think. So I'm thinking of like bee sting, whether that's like a sharp thing or like a injection of poison or something. So how do we? Yeah, so I think I'm gonna have to use a flashback here. I think, like in asking, we kind of cut back to earlier days when we were getting to know Vika, and we're asking, well, do you sleep, or do you rest the way we do? And they said, well, I do need to recharge. And that, yes, I need to kind of recharge to get the kind of sustenance to keep going. And so there is a I think there's a part in their back where there is a I guess a kind of a Prisma shard inside them that kind of powers them up. And so I think they kind of say that. And so I think we take a guess that maybe if we can do something with to get access to that kind of power shard, or we can temporarily disable them. But there is but I think Eleanor's like, but we could kill him. And I think if we don't do this, I think everybody in this town is going to be overtaken by despair. So I don't think we're going to do this alone. So I think they're firing at this. I think there is okay, I'm going to kind of twist things a little bit first before I get into that scene. So I think we're going to try and deal with this using these action tokens. So I think we're going to try and so actually, to send this back in, I think working as a team, we're going to try and I think again, Jasan and Eleanor are going to try and kind of blast Vika to get their attention. So they're going to do it on their Prisma on a low setting, almost like to stun. And they are going to, I think they're going to try and kind of ping him, whilst Demona is going to try and get behind to access that chamber at the back. So I think I'm going to have to, try and do that. No, okay, I think Vika is just able to kind of fend us off. And I think actually kind of knocks us all back, and with their blasts, they basically start firing at us, and we have to kind of fall back. And I think some of the marshals arrive, and they're like, "Oh my god, it's an Arcana bot! We need to destroy it." And we first of all got to try and persuade them. So that was my first section. I think persuade them that he's harmless. That please, we have an idea, but you just need to kind of keep him busy. Okay, so they agree. So they basically are kind of firing shots at Vika, trying to distract him so that he's not able to kind of turn his attention to the shield. And I think meanwhile, we're going to run back to the Infinity Coalition's base in search of some clues that will help us with Vika. And I think we're going to... I think Jashan's going to do this. I think we're going to kind of access their kind of database. I think they tell Nadalia to meet us at the coalition, and so at their kind of headquarters. And I think we start searching for some information there that will help us to, I think, figure out how Vika's being controlled and to deactivate them. Okay, so I think Natalia succeeds in finding the information. But I think just as we're celebrating, the just as we're celebrating, do I have a suitable cue? I could use that. I think so I'm going to use this to indicate I think a group. So as we run in, I think. So I'm going to keep it straightforward. I think Dr. Mdiki steps into the room because we're in their room and says, and shuts the door behind them and says, kind of, what are you doing here? And I think we try to make up an excuse about I think they step forward and say, well, we want to talk to you about the terms of, what it is we have to do to get kind of Vika back. Like when will you be finished? So we're trying to buy ourselves some time as we edge towards the door. No. But I think so. They're not buying it. But I can see that Mr. Mdiki is a little bit nervous because I think he's kind of glancing. So I think he's actually glancing at some files in the corner that have been kind of left out. So I think we grab them. I think we grab them and try to make a run for it with them. Or we threaten them. Let me see. I think we grab them and say, I charge up my kind of Prisma and say, let us go, or these will be destroyed. He says, no, but I think he says no, but at that point, there is a crash. Okay, this is probably a weird thing, but let me see. Do I want to do that or that? So okay. So I think I'll do this. Again, I have no idea how. I'm going to. What do I do? So what I'm thinking is, okay. So I think so we tried to grab the files and we don't succeed. But in that moment, so I'm looking at this here, that I think the window shatters as members of the Merchants Guild actually kind of burst in. I think like the wall explodes and they kind of burst into this room, and they basically kind of swipe the three of us, and well, the four of us, including Natalia, and so it's kind of like an extraction. They capture us, and I think on the way out we're going to try one last time to kind of fight to grab those files that they were so worried about. No, but so we don't grab the files. But someone, I think their reaction. So I think Dr. Mdiki's reaction to us trying to get those files, like they throw themselves onto it in this like really kind of embarrassing manner that's like far bigger than what should be happening for those files. And we realize they are hiding something really, really big. Just as we're like, I think these guys are on, they've kind of come in on, let's say, kind of jetpacks. This is sci-fi. So I think they grab us and they run and kind of leap out of the window, and their jetpacks kick in and they fly out. And as they're leaving, we can see the spare in the distance because we're kind of hovering in the city up in the sky, and we can. I think this is the first time we've ever seen the spare ourselves, and we are terrified. There's this giant creature making its way towards Keyport. And yeah, I think we fade to black at that point. Yeah, so I think we're struggling and trying to get free, and they are we're unable to get rid of the grip. We've no kind of action tokens left, and yeah, I think it just ends with all of our characters kind of looking at each other, completely despondent. I don't know how we're going to recover from this. Vika is attacking the shield. The marshals are trying to hold them in place. We do have the means to shut them off. We did get that. So we did access that information. We just haven't had an opportunity to deactivate Vika. Maybe that's what I should have done with my action. Anyway, and now we've been captured before we had a chance to actually do that. So we're on a cliffhanger. And that brings episode 20 to a conclusion. Tomorrow is episode 21. It's the last episode of the season. So if you want to catch up on any of the previous episodes, I'm just going to bring this up here. You can find us. Actually, you can catch up a lot of them on kind of using any of our social media where we're posting about it. But if you go to YouTube, We Are Hooked Games, you'll find a playlist of all of the episodes, and you can catch up on them there. We're also streaming live on Twitch and Facebook. And if you want to follow me, I am on Rory O'Connor all across the different social media platforms. So usual thing, if you enjoy this, please like and subscribe to this, to We Are Hooked Games and to these episodes. And I'll see you back here tomorrow at 10 o'clock for the finale of this. The season climax is tomorrow. So hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, see you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye.